Chelsea are into the Club World Cup final, and if you can see the scenes on your TV right now, it means a lot to them. Enzo Maresca and his coaching staff celebrating like it's the biggest game of their season. And a lot of talk has been made about this Club World Cup, but I think you look at a lot of these teams, in particular the South American ones, no doubt about it, the African teams, the Asian teams, and clearly you can see how much this means to them. Very, very clearly, right? This is a huge stage for them. It's a huge opportunity. The fans are so passionate. They've, in my opinion, been the best fans at this tournament. But even the European sides, who some people are very, very snobby about regarding, they're just here because they have to be. They're just here to make some money. Look at the way Maresca's staff is celebrating right now. Look at how Luis Enrique was animated on the touchline the other day for PSG against Bayern. These teams want to be here. These teams want to win this competition. There's a lot at stake, obviously from a financial point of view too. But I think that last scene, it's staying with me, to be honest with you, because I think it means a lot. But full credit to Chelsea Football Club into the Club World Cup final. And wow, what a road to the final it has been, right? I mean, from losing that second game against Flamengo 3-1, I think a lot of us were looking at Chelsea at the time thinking, could be a little difficult for them this tournament. Things aren't going as smoothly as we thought they might be, but they've bounced back from that result exceptionally well. And since then, they've gone from strength to strength to strength. And this was such a commanding, calm performance from Chelsea. Honestly, it didn't really feel like the game got out of their grasp whatsoever during this game. And that's how you can really tell a team is maturing. Not just getting better, but maturing. They manage the game so well now these days, man. It's not the Chelsea of the last few seasons where even when they are playing well, there is a head loss from a player, there is a moment of madness from another, and all of a sudden the rest of the team just kind of collapses. These days, Chelsea, they just kind of see out situations so smoothly. Such a level-headedness to this side. And I think it comes from the manager 100%. But on Enzo Maresca, right? I think if we were to choose a manager of the tournament so far, I think he would be the manager of the tournament. If you're making a team, look, I'm not sure how many Chelsea players would get in. Mostly because there have been a lot of different parts in this team. A lot of moving parts that Maresca keeps bringing in and out of the side. But the manager, I think Maresca has been the most impressive manager at this tournament. And I say that because I've watched every single Chelsea game. Hell, I've watched every game at this tournament. It was my job. But every single game Chelsea have played this tournament, Maresca has set them up differently. Whether that's a player in a different position, whether it's, I don't know, shifting one guy out for another, whether it's just completely changing the entire shape of the team. Maresca has changed this side every single game. And for the most part, it's worked. And I think it's remarkable that a manager can have this many aces up his sleeve. That's really the way I look at it, right? Some people might look at it and say, indecisiveness, he doesn't know what his best team is. But I think Chelsea fans could possibly look at it in a different way, and that's that Maresca almost seems to have a different setup for whoever he plays against. And I think that's a wonderful tool to have in your arsenal because it makes you very, very difficult to game plan against. The fact is, managers coming up against Chelsea will be left a little puzzled because they don't know what side that Maresca is going to put out. They don't know the side in terms of personnel, but they might not even know the side in terms of the shape of the team, the buildup of the team, the out of possession style of the team. Today, for example, I wrote it down because with Chelsea, again, it's very evident almost from the word go how they're lining up. You don't have to really like be a huge tactician to kind of see it. Today it was almost a 3-1-5-1 on the ball, right? So you're looking at Cucurella. Was it Tosin today? I think it was Tosin and Chalobah, the three of them. For example, Cucurella, one of those three. He's played at times in midfield this tournament next to Caicedo. He's played at times as a left winger against Benfica, for example. There's tactical flexibility. Caicedo almost held it down on his own in the center of the park. And in front of him, well, on either side, you had Pedro Neto as an out-and-out left winger. Again, that's a player that's played in a front two at times this tournament in possession, and on the right. And on the right, you had Malo Gusto, a guy who's played right back, left back, today right winger, but also he's kind of played inverted at times as well, too. In front of Caicedo, you had a three of Cole Palmer, Nkunku, and Enzo Fernandez. All three of those guys have played in different positions this tournament to varying successes. And we'll talk about Nkunku because I actually thought today was one of his better performances I've seen from him in a Chelsea kit. And then, of course, the guy up front, the new boy, making his debut, Joao Pedro. And he's made the last two games he's played have been up front. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him playing as that left number 10 like Cole Palmer did against Benfica. I wouldn't be surprised to see him as a flat-out number 10, period. He might even end up playing in the front two this season if Delap is going to get the minutes we think he's going to get. So what I'm trying to paint the picture here for you guys is Chelsea is just like, you can never game plan against them. Or at least I think it's very, very difficult to, because Enzo Maresca is almost like a mad scientist. He can really just conjure up any kind of shape, system, formation tweak, position tweak, player tweak, and the team doesn't really seem to lose that much. Now, my one thing with Maresca, if I'm going to be not critical, right? But it's just my opinion. He doesn't. Clearly, he thinks differently, but it's just my opinion. This is the way I think. I do think sometimes the profiling of players from him is a little peculiar for me. If you've been watching the press on the Zone the last few weeks, you guys will have known I really didn't like to see Cole Palmer playing on the left-hand side or as a left 10. I really thought it kind of limited his game, but for the sake of the system, that's why he played him out there. Similarly, I don't really like seeing Malo Gusto play as an inverted fullback, playing in midfield next to Caicedo at times. I don't think he has the skill set to do it, but I understand it's because he likes doing it with Reece James at times, he likes doing it with Cucurella at times, and Gusto at times has to be the guy to do it. But I think that's a poor utilization of Gusto's skills. That's just my opinion. Clearly, Maresca thinks differently, and that's how he's going to go into the season. But I'm honest on my videos, and even if you don't like my opinion, I'm going to give it to you guys. So that might be the one thing with Maresca it irks me sometimes. Like when I see Gusto playing as an inverted fullback at times, I'm thinking to myself, like, really, like Gusto cannot do this role, man. Seriously, it's hard watching Gusto at times try and play in midfield. He seems out of water, a fish out of water in that situation. But that's me being very particular. Clearly, Maresca is a top manager, and very quickly he's turned this Chelsea team into a side that 2 seasons ago we were looking at as a mess, as a laughing stock. We were looking at them as more of a business rather than a football club. We were looking at all the signings that they were making. We were looking at the size of their club, the fees with some of the players, the contract lengths. And we were kind of just mocking Chelsea all throughout the media. There was a real kind of, I don't know, sneering at Chelsea and the project that they were trying to cook up. And I mean, look, if you still have question marks over some of their business, I think that is fair, because sometimes I do see Chelsea make a signing and I'm like, is this really to benefit the first team, or is it really just to kind of get them healthy with PSR? But you look at the signings that they've made of late, right? The ones that they made last season and the ones they've made this year. I mean, they've signed 2 center forwards, and we're going to talk about both of them because I think there's a third that is in real trouble. Liam Delap and Joao Pedro. They've signed Jamie Bino-Gittins, who we're yet to see, but I'm a big fan of Jamie Bino-Gittins, have been since he was at Dortmund. Real talent there. They've brought Andre Santos back from loan. Could he be a player in this tournament? He had that one game against Palmeiras, but we haven't seen him since. And of course, how can I forget Esteval, the young kid from Palmeiras as well, making his way to the club this summer. So there's a lot of interesting moving parts from Chelsea, but again, as I say, it doesn't really seem to matter who plays. They just get the job done. They're so comfortable at the moment in and out of possession, playing multiple roles. They're a very versatile team with very versatile players. And I think with Chelsea, it's very interesting sometimes with their recruitment that they do seem to buy players and favor players that can occupy different roles. I think that's something that for them matters a lot, because again, how versatile they are tactically. Players that impressed me today, I mean, how could I start from anybody other than Joao Pedro? This guy has joined Chelsea and from the word go, been a hit. I thought his cameo the other day against Palmeiras, even in 20 minutes or so, was very good. Honestly, that cameo showed everything brilliant about Joao Pedro. If you haven't seen Joao Pedro before in your life, which have you been blind for the last few years? I would hope you would have watched him. But if you haven't seen him, the guy for me is what I call an associative forward, in terms of he's a guy that is very technically gifted. Very good first touch, very good at kind of holding players off, very good in tight spaces, and also, as he showed today, has a strike on him. But we didn't really get to see that in the first game against Palmeiras. He was more so really a facilitator. He was a playmaker from the front. Honestly, when you look at what United bought with Xerxes, that was probably the goal in mind by buying Joshua Xerxes based on what he could do at Bologna. But Joao Pedro, I just think he's a better player, to be honest with you. I think he's stronger. I think he's quicker. He's more mobile. And I think he has a little bit more oomph to him. But in terms of like that technical center forward that holds the ball up well, gets others into play, very good in small spaces, Joao Pedro has that in abundance. But today, he showed the side of his game that I think every single Chelsea fan will be begging to see more of. The guy knows where the goal is. And that's something that I don't think you've been able to say about a Chelsea forward. Like a Chelsea forward at a high level, right? Because obviously they've had players that scored goals, but like a Chelsea forward, a center forward that just knew how to score goals to a high level. Who was the last one they had? Is it Diego Costa? I know they've had Giroud in there. They had Gonzalo Higuain, and they've had Alexandre. They've had names, but in terms of the last center forward to come to Chelsea and really light the world up, with all due respect to Tammy Abraham and Nicolas Jackson, I think the last one's Diego Costa. Now, that's big praise, and that's a big shoes to fill for Joao Pedro and for Liam Delap. But those goals that he scored today, those are incredible goals. Those aren't just every single day goals. Those are goals like bombazos, to be honest with you. Wow, the first one, picking it up near the edge of the box and just bending and curling it past the goalkeeper's hand. I mean, there's no way anyone is saving that, man. Caresses beautiful. Absolutely beautiful goal. And then the second one, arguably even better. Chelsea hitting Fluminense on a nasty break. Cole Palmer getting the ball stuck in his feet, flicking it either accidentally or purposely to Enzo Fernandez, who played a fantastic pass into the run of Joao Pedro. And all Joao Pedro had to do was, again, cut in. And I say all he had to do. That makes it sound easy. The strike that this kid unleashed past Fabio in goal. My God. My God, you could have two Fabios in there. Grand total of 88 years, by the way, if you double him. But you could have two of him in there. There's no way you're saving that shot. And I think Chelsea fans will be looking at that and looking at what Liam Delap showed them earlier in the tournament and thinking to themselves, wow, we might be sorted up front. It's been a problem position for Chelsea for a long, long time. But with these two in the rotation, I think Chelsea are going to trouble a lot of teams from an attacking point of view because these guys are handfuls. Not only are they handfuls in terms of scoring goals, but Delap and Pedro now have shown you throughout this tournament that in terms of just disrupting defenses, Delap through his runs in behind, through his bullish tendencies, right? The guy's a bully. The guy's a bulldog up front. And Joao Pedro, who's very adept at holding off the ball, but also getting others into play, running the channels, running out players. Those two are going to cause defenses a lot of problems, whether it's one, the other, or maybe even both. Maybe Maresca has another ace up his sleeve, and Chelsea end up playing two center forwards up front. I wouldn't rule it past him at this point because I feel like we've seen a little bit of everything with him. As for the rest of the team, I thought everybody was really, really strong today. Pedro Neto has really made this entire tournament his own, to be honest with you. Obviously, I'm a big Pedro Neto fan from Wolves, but I think last season, even the staunchest Chelsea fan would probably agree, wasn't his best individually. But I think this tournament has been a real renaissance to Pedro Neto's career. I think he's scoring goals, he's running out players, he's creating chances. He looks like himself again. And if Chelsea are getting a healthy, on-form Pedro Neto, it's going to be like a new signing because, frankly, last season, I didn't think he made too much of an impact for most of it, to be honest with you. Another player I was really, really impressed with, to be honest, was Christopher Nkunku, who prior to this tournament looked like a dead man walking, or whatever you want to call him, like a man who was basically out of options at Chelsea, probably going to leave in the summer. And I don't know if Maresca is kind of just playing him to up his transfer value. Who knows? But today, the way Nkunku played, he looked like a man possessed, tracking back, running back, winning his duels, running out players, keeping the ball well, dribbling past guy. Nkunku, I was looking at him like, damn, is this Leipzig Nkunku? Where have you been for the last 3 years? And to be honest with you, I think a big part of it had to do with the fact that he is playing his natural position in this kind of role. The fact that he was one of the three attacking midfielders behind Pedro, I think suits Nkunku. Having said that, he has played in that role sometimes, maybe not as much as he would have liked, but sometimes, and I do think he has flattered to deceive. But today, Nkunku, I think he deserves a big round of applause because I think this was one of his better games. That doesn't mean that I think he has a long-term future at Chelsea. Hell, he might get sold the minute this tournament ends. But today, good performance. Very good performance. Caicedo in the middle of the park, holding it down by himself. The guy is just consistent, man. Moises Caicedo, I mean, I can't remember the last time I watched him play a bad game. Seriously, the guy is like consistent 8 out of 10 every single week. And it doesn't matter if he's playing next to Lavia, Enzo, Cucurella, James, or this game, I really thought at times, just held the fort alone. There's nothing you can really say about Moises Caicedo. The guy is a real enforcer in there, and then is passing on top of that. Never seems to really lose the ball. Never really seems to make mistakes. Top level, man. Top level. Defensively, I mean, the only thing really with Chelsea at this point, you have to say, is the goalkeeper. I mean, Robert Sanchez. Seriously, man. When are we just gonna be honest? Not even Chelsea fans, because I feel like Chelsea fans know what it is with Robert Sanchez. I think they know what's up. But the manager, the board, the owners, the staff, the kitchen staff, I don't know who you have to talk to here. What does Robert Sanchez have against you guys? Is he holding top secret information? Does he have the keys to Stamford Bridge? What's going on here? Why is Robert Sanchez still Chelsea's #1 goalkeeper? I'm seeing Petrovic go to Sunderland. Petrovic, who was one of, in my opinion, the best goalkeepers in Ligue 1 last year for Strasbourg. And he's just going to Sunderland. And I mean, fair enough. If you don't think Petrovic is starting Chelsea quality, I guess. But please don't try and tell me Robert Sanchez is. The guy makes a mistake almost every single game. And today, I mean, he got lucky, I think, at one point, right? Fluminense didn't really trouble Chelsea too much. They went through on goal one time. Cucurella cleared it off the line. That's the incident I'm kind of talking about, where Robert Sanchez refuses to come off his line and nearly gets punished for it. There was a penalty that got called that ended up getting disallowed, and rightfully so. I mean, Chalaba's hand is literally right next to his side. There's nothing he can do in that situation. But for the most part, Fluminense were kind of nullified. And I think Chelsea did a really good job of pressing high, really suffocating Fluminense, to the point that even if Fluminense found that out ball, and in the second half, I think they found a little bit of success with it, with Eve up front. But once he got the ball in maybe a 1v2 or 1v3, it's really him by himself. There isn't another Fluminense player in sight. And I think a lot of that is due to the fact that Chelsea really pushed Fluminense back. And Fluminense are a team that all tournament have really defended staunchly. They're a team that almost never has more possession than the opposition, whether it was Dortmund, Mamelodi Sundowns, who else did they play? Inter, Al Hilal. They are really comfortable with suffering. That's the name of the game for them. And then they'll hit you on a break. John Arias has been such a star for them. But today, honestly, they had no luck. I say no luck, no success in any kind of way against that Chelsea team. And I think you have to give a lot of praise to the press, but also defensively, just how strong a few of those guys were. But Sanchez, man, in a garden full of beautiful flowers, roses, tulips, he's like the one weed in the back, man. You got to pull that out. Robert Sanchez needs to be replaced in the summer, man. I know they were linked to Mike Maignan. I'm a big Mike Maignan fan. Granted, I think he has regressed a little in the last year. His performances haven't been great. Maybe it's a case of motivation. He comes to a team that are kind of competing for honors and he gets back to his best, because Maignan at his best is a top goalkeeper. But someone's got to come in and replace Robert Sanchez. Chelsea have a really, really good team. And actually, this entire run has kind of inspired me to make a video on Chelsea in the next few days or weeks, because I really think Chelsea heading into next season have something cooking. I'm not going to go out and say they're going to win the title, but, you know, last year we were calling them the little horse, or at one point we were calling them the little horse, and then the steam kind of ran out after January. I think this season, Chelsea, they got something cooking on low heat. I'm going to wait a little bit. Obviously, they got the Club World Cup final, and the fact they're in the final, who would have predicted them to even make it this far? I think that's a wonderful achievement for them. And in the process, they've made over £100 million from this tournament. But yeah, man, this Chelsea team, they're cooking. They're cooking, and I'm very, very impressed. And that's without Bino Gittins. Kudus, is that going to end up happening? I know he's really linked to West Ham. Is there another move in the arsenal for Chelsea? I want to talk on two players, though, that came on for Chelsea today. One of them being Madueke. Now, Madueke has been really linked to a move to Arsenal. And I spoke about this move in an Arsenal video the other day. And I said, I can understand why if Arsenal, and let me say this very clearly, if Arsenal are able to get their first choice left wing option, whether that be Rodrigo or Eze to play on the left or whoever, then I don't think signing Madueke as attacking depth across the front line is a bad idea. You can never have enough good players. And I think Madueke is a solid to good player. So I understand why Arsenal would buy him in the scenario they buy another left winger. Let me make that very, very clear. But for Nani Madueke, the only reason I can imagine this guy is leaving Chelsea for Arsenal is if Chelsea are telling him in the back of his ear, right? They're whispering in his ear, you don't really have a place here. That's the only way I can imagine he's leaving Chelsea for Arsenal. Because really, if it's him pushing for this move, I cannot understand it. I cannot understand it. There is more chance, in my eyes, I don't know, again, I don't know what Maresca is telling him, what the board are telling him, but I see more minutes available for him in this Chelsea team, especially off the right, which is his favorite position, than I do at Arsenal. At Arsenal, he is almost definitely resigned to being Saka's backup for the rest of his life, because Bukayo Saka, if fit, is playing every important game for Arsenal for the rest of his career, and he's a young kid, so there's a lot of years left. Or Madueke is playing off the left in moments. Again, he might start some games there, he might come off the bench, he might not play at all. But I don't really think Madueke is a great left winger. I see some people saying, oh, he can be molded into a great... Really? I mean, is that why you're going to join Arsenal, in the hopes that you can be molded into a great left winger? I see more opportunity for him to stay, fight for his place, and earn minutes at Chelsea. And he'll be doing it off his favorite foot. And again, when I'm looking at Chelsea, I think they'll be up there this season. Now, I think Arsenal are a more established project at the moment. Naturally, they've been doing this for a little longer. Arteta's a great coach. With all due respect, Arsenal's a great club. And I understand why any player would love to play for them. But I don't really see the situation at Arsenal, for Madueke in particular, better than the situation he's already at. I really, really don't. As for the other guy, Nicolas Jackson. I don't think there's been a bigger... I don't want to say loser. I don't mean loser in the sense of like, he's a bum. I mean loser in terms of lost. I don't think there's a bigger loser from this Club World Cup than Nicolas Jackson. Because in the space of a month, this guy has gone from Chelsea's #1 center forward to then Chelsea's #1 center forward with competition and Liam Delap hovering over his shoulder, to then suspended for the entire majority of this tournament so that Liam Delap can get even more reps and impress, to then dropping down the pecking order even more as Chelsea signed another attacker and on his second game scores 2 goals. To the point now where I look at Nico Jackson and I think to myself, my brother, at best, right now, you were probably Chelsea's 3rd choice attacker. And you started this tournament, maybe with a threat behind you in Liam Delap, but at least in a position that you could fight that threat. You could compete for that #1 position. And due to nobody's fault except your own in the form of that red card. Your entire tournament has gone in flames. And now I look at your Chelsea career. I think the only way is out. I think the only way is out for Nicolas Jackson right now. Because I think Liam Delap and Joao Pedro, first and foremost, have impressed more at this tournament than he has. But secondly, Liam Delap offers something Nicolas Jackson doesn't. He's a natural center forward, a natural goal scorer, right? Big, strong, fast, bully ball of a center forward that's going to score goals. Jackson's not that kind of player. But Jackson, at least before, could give you the option of like the natural footballer who's very good in tight spaces, get others into play, drop deep, drop out wide. He's a good team player. I'm sorry, they just signed Joao Pedro. And all Joao Pedro has to do to play over Nicolas Jackson right now is just prove to be a little bit reliable. Not even just reliable in terms of scoring goals, reliable in terms of his availability, reliable in terms of his performances, reliable in terms of his, I don't know, tenacity, reliable in terms of just not losing his head and absolutely putting in these crazy tackles and these crazy arm swings that at any given moment can put your team down to 10 men. Nicolas Jackson has hurt Chelsea far too many times over the last 2 years. He's had good moments, and I think he's been a brilliant bridge from where Chelsea were, like 8th place a few years back, 12th place, to now a Champions League level club. He was a brilliant bridge player in between. No pun intended. He's a brilliant player to kind of get Chelsea from point A to point B. But point B to point C and D and E and F, I'm sorry. I'm not sure he's going to survive. I'm really not sure. I think he could be a player that we potentially see on the transfer market at the end of this window. And I'm not necessarily Nicolas Jackson's greatest fan, but personally, I think a team that could be looking at him, and hear me out here, is Man United. I think Man United could do worse than looking at Nicolas Jackson. That doesn't mean that I think Nicolas Jackson's a world-class number 9. But ladies and gentlemen, Man United are not a world-class team. They're a team that's similar to Chelsea a few years back, are looking just to get from point A to point B. They're looking to just become relevant again. Nicolas Jackson has proven that he can at least get a team from point A to point B as the center forward of that team. And if he does become available because of now the added competition and Pedro and Delap, I think United are a team that people should look out for in terms of acquiring Nicolas Jackson. I know a lot of United fans might not even want to hear that. They still think that they're bigger than that. But I'm sorry, United are not competing in a market for Ekitike. They're not competing in a market for Sesko. They're not going to get Victor Osimhen. Nicolas Jackson might be the best they can get. He might be the best they can get at this moment. But that's enough on United, right? This is a video about Chelsea. What a team. And I really rate the way that they've just gone from strength to strength to strength to strength to strength in this tournament. One game left. They'll be waiting tomorrow anxiously to see the winner of Real Madrid versus PSG. I personally favor PSG a little bit, but I think that game's going to be ridiculous. Mbappe's return to against PSG, the first time he plays against them. I mean, Alonso, this is his biggest test yet. Whereas PSG, I mean, they have looked ridiculous for the last 6 months. And if they can get past Real Madrid, they're one game away from what was already an amazing season, a perfect season, becoming even more perfect. So, I mean, whether it's PSG or Chelsea, or Real Madrid or Chelsea, I think we're in for an amazing final. And personally, I've really enjoyed this tournament, man. I've really enjoyed this tournament. And I think a big part of that is due to teams like Fluminense. That's my last point in this video. Shout out to Fluminense, man. Obviously, they've lost today. Didn't put up too much of a challenge against Chelsea. But you look at the path to get here in the first place. Going unbeaten against Dortmund, Inter, and Al Hilal for a Brazilian team that aren't even in the best form domestically over the last year. This isn't like Palmeiras, who have been amazing, or Flamengo, who have lost like 4 games under Felipe Luis. Fluminense have not been that great over the last year. But the run they put together in this tournament, off real veteran leadership, by the way, right? You look at Thiago Silva, 40, Fabio in goal, 44. Throughout this team, there's a lot of old players, but they've managed to put together a run against all odds to go to the Club World Cup semifinal. And in my opinion, that's what this tournament is all about. Everyone's looking at the European sides. Inter couldn't beat Fluminense. Man City couldn't beat Al Hilal. Chelsea lost to Flamengo at one point. There's so many beautiful stories that have come out of this tournament. PSG lost to Botafogo. Bayern Munich couldn't top a group against Benfica. Real Madrid drew to Al Hilal. I think there's been some amazing stories. And in large part, a big part of that is due to the sides outside of Europe. I think it's given people a real glimpse of football exists outside of Europe. I think that's the ultimate message here, right? There is life outside of Europe's top 5 leagues. And I think this tournament has done a fantastic job at displaying that. So shout out to the Fluminenses, the Flamengos, the Palmeiras, the Botafogos, the Bocas, the Rivers, all of those sides, the Mamelodi Sundowns from South Africa. They have really made this tournament special. And for that, I have to say thank you. All of their fans can go home extremely proud of the fact that their side managed to go toe-to-toe with a lot of Europe's best teams. That's a huge accomplishment. But with that being said, guys, that's all I got to say on this game. We'll be back tomorrow for Real Madrid versus PSG, a real battle of the heavyweights and fighting for a place in the Club World Cup final. Like, share, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think about Chelsea down below. Can they go all the way? And I'll see you guys very, very soon. Peace.